In my third year as a stand-in romance heroine, I suddenly started seeing the male lead's thoughts through floating comments. When the male lead coldly told me I was just a substitute and he'd never marry me, the comments went crazy. This guy's lying through his teeth. He's already got the ring ready. He's bought several wedding venues. The wedding planner has submitted 10 different dress designs. He even showed my photo to his parents. But he's too stubborn to admit it. Keep playing games. One day you'll lose your wife for good and then you'll be happy. I stared up in shock. Meanwhile, the male lead continued arrogantly telling me, know your place. You're just a substitute. Don't dream about things you can't have. I nodded and said, I won't. But Mr. Williams, I said, I paid off my dad's debt. I don't want to stay with you anymore. James Williams' aristocratic face changed dramatically, staring at me in disbelief. What did you say? The comments at this moment filled the screen with, oh, snap. Initially, James came to me because his childhood sweetheart married someone else. His first love didn't love him back. And I had a face that looked just like hers. So James found me. He was a young director in the industry backed by massive wealth. At that time, I was still running around as an extra in small productions. When we first met, James wore a light gray suit, casually crossing his legs. As he sat across from me, he handed me a contract and a card. He said, I think you'll need this. He'd investigated me, a father who owed massive gambling debts, and a mother bedridden with illness. I needed money. Otherwise I wouldn't have stumbled into this industry. What James pushed across was a contract with his company and a card with a $5 million limit. I quietly looked up at James across from me. He had a face as handsome as any male star in the industry. Perhaps because as he grew up with a silver spoon, he exuded aristocratic bearing. He leaned slightly against the chair back, his eyes showing a kind of condescending arrogance. He seemed to be appraising me. But when I looked back at him, he unnaturally averted his gaze. His ears hidden behind his black hair were slightly red. I didn't think much of it then. I just lowered my head, picked up and signed both contracts James brought. One was an economic contract with his company. The other was a contract for him to keep me. I'd been with James for 3 years. Looking back, he actually didn't treat me badly during those 3 years. He always gave me the most suitable roles and resources. He got me luxury endorsements that even A-list actresses could touch. He even gave me extra money every month, calling it living expenses. During these years with James, I paid off my father's astronomical gambling debts. I also made some name for myself in the industry. But James was contradictory, acting without logic. He wanted to give me top-tier resources, but was afraid I'd go too far. Once movie starring a top male actor approached me, though they only offered me the second female lead role. The character was quite outstanding, acting opposite a top star playing his wife. This was the best opportunity to gain recognition. But when the script reached James, he rejected it without mercy. He seemed to find his own behavior strange, too. He turned around and got me 2 luxury brand endorsements instead. Of course, I didn't ask James for his reasons. James was the boss, the superior, the one controlling my entire work in life. At work, he made all the decisions for me. In private, I satisfied all his demands. Even in bed, James didn't find me just to drink poison while looking at my face. That resembled his first love. He was a man. These past few years, aside from being on set, I most often stayed at James's Riverside Villa. Even when I occasionally stayed on set, James would quietly visit under the pretext of investment inspections. Everyone in the industry was sharp. James acted boldly and recklessly, never considering consequences. So many people knew about our relationship back then. He unhesitatingly rejected breakthrough movie for me. I never asked why, but I thought about it privately. He was probably afraid I'd become famous. If I became famous, his first love overseas might see my face. She might then know about my relationship with him. James had lived recklessly for 20-something years. His only caution was probably reserved for that person. In my third year with James, my better-than-mother took her last breath. Famous doctors and high-end care facilities couldn't save her. Mother died on a rainy night. I had no family left in this world. So I didn't contact anyone and handled her funeral alone. The day after Mother's death, James appeared in a black suit holding a large umbrella, striding through the rain to find me at the cemetery. I couldn't reach you for 2 days, he said. There was blame in his tone. You even dared not answer my calls. I instinctively reached for my phone, but realized that in the chaos of these 2 days, I'd lost track of where my phone was. James held the umbrella over my head. He frowned. Don't you even know to bring an umbrella? He said. If you catch a cold, don't come to my house. Rain pounded dully on the umbrella. My hair and clothes were soaked through. As I stood disheveled before James, I only whispered an apology. Sorry, Mr. Williams. James grabbed my hand. His palm was dry, warm with a kind of strange. I was stunned, but he had already started walking forward, leading me to the car. As soon as the car door closed, a towel was thrown into my lap. James frowned slightly as if disgusted. Clean yourself up. The car's heater was on full blast, but James seemed to find it hot. Loosening and removing his jacket, I silently took the towel and began drying my soaked hair. The towel briefly blocked my vision, but I could feel James's substantial gaze resting on me. Was he angry again? I thought aimlessly. Then I heard him suddenly speak. Why didn't you tell me when your mother passed away? He asked many questions today. Every question was condescending and aggressive. He was always like this. He'd been like this for 3 years. Even in bed when he spoke to me, it was like giving orders. My silence lasted too long. James clicked his tongue impatiently. He coldly called my name. Sarah. I'm asking you a question. Hidden under the thick, dry towel, I finally spoke. Mr. Williams. This is my private matter. I didn't want to trouble you. After I spoke, James let out a cold laugh. He said sarcastically, you're quite good at knowing your place. He said. Last week, my grandfather found the daughter of a consortium director to set me up with. He yanked away the towel covering my head, cupping my face with one hand. He looked directly into my eyes. He stared at me up close, speaking each word deliberately. Sarah, I will never marry you. James was truly strange, always acting on impulse. I never thought he would marry me. This didn't need to be emphasized again. But he stared straight at me, seemingly waiting for my response. I pressed my dry lips together, wanting to say I knew. But suddenly I saw a white text appearing in the car space. Those words emerged rapidly from behind. James. Laughable. This fake guy is really putting on an act. This guy's lying through his teeth. He fell in love at first sight. He schemed to get her. He's already got the ring ready. He's bought several wedding venues. The wedding planner has submitted 10 different dress designs. He even showed my photo to his parents. When his grandfather called him for a blind date, he didn't even go. But he's too stubborn to admit it. Keep playing games. One day you'll lose your wife for good and then you'll be happy. The silence in the car was deafening, but the air was crowded with the glowing, snarky white text of the floating comments. I stared at them, my eyes widening, while James's hand remained firm on my jaw. He was still waiting for my heartbroken reaction, his expression a mask of aristocratic coldness. Look at him, one comment scrolled by in a neon font. He's literally shaking. He thinks if he says he'll never marry her, she'll beg him to stay. Boy, are you in for a surprise. I can't with this man, another chimed in. He literally has Sarah's wedding as a hidden folder on his desktop. The audacity. I looked at James, really looked at him. I saw the slight tremor in his fingers, the way his pulse throbbed at his neck. For 3 years, I had interpreted his behavior as the whims of a bored tyrant. Now, the audience was telling me he was just a man who didn't know how to speak without a script. I understand, Mr. Williams, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I never expected a wedding. As I said, the debt is paid. My mother is gone. There is nothing left for me to buy with my dignity. James's grip tightened for a fraction of a second before he jerked his hand away as if burned. Dignity? You're talking about dignity now? After 3 years of taking my money and my leads? It was a transaction, I replied, pulling my coat tighter. Transactions have an end date. I'd like to be dropped off at the next light. Ouch, a comment flashed in bright red. The transaction line just took out 50% of his HP, someone call a medic. James let out a harsh, jagged laugh. You think you can just walk away? You're under contract with my company, Sarah. I can bury your career before the sun comes up. Then bury it, I said, looking out the window. I started as an extra. I don't mind going back. James didn't speak again. He signaled the driver to stop, not at a light, but in front of my small, neglected apartment, the one I'd kept but never visited. As I stepped out into the rain, I heard his voice, low and dangerous, behind me. You'll be back in 48 hours. When you realize that the world doesn't care about a stand-in without her benefactor, you'll crawl back. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. The comments were already doing the talking. Crawl back? Sir, you're currently clutching the towel she used like it's a holy relic. Who's crawling? He's going to cry in the shower tonight. 10 out of 10 content. The Cold War of the industry. The next week was a blur. I expected a legal notice or a public blacklisting. Instead, something stranger happened. I was removed from the high-budget fantasy epic James had been producing. But within hours, I received an offer for a gritty, low-budget indie film directed by a man James supposedly detested. Then, my luxury endorsements, the ones James gave me, were cancelled, only to be replaced by a massive global campaign for a rival brand. I sat in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, when the comments began to scroll across the plaster. James is such a tsundere. He cancelled her contract but secretly bought the production company of the indie film so he could fund it anonymously. He's outbidding himself for her endorsements. He's literally losing money to make sure she stays successful without knowing it's him. This is peak mental illness. I laughed, a tired, dry sound. He was still controlling my life, just from the shadows. A month later, the first love returned. Claire Montgomery, the woman I supposedly resembled, arrived back in the country after her high-profile divorce. The media went into a frenzy. Every headline was the same: the muse returns, will James Williams finally claim his queen? I saw the photos of them at a gala. She was stunning, elegant, fragile, and looking almost exactly like me, or rather, I looked like her. I felt a sharp, unexpected pang in my chest. She doesn't even look like Sarah anymore, a comment drifted across the news article. Claire had work done. Sarah is the original now. James looks bored out of his mind. Look at his hands, another screamed. He's looking for Sarah in the crowd. He's ignored Claire 3 times in this video. He's literally checking his phone to see if Sarah posted on Instagram. The next night, my doorbell rang at 2 a.m. I opened it to find James. He wasn't wearing a suit. His hair was messy, his eyes bloodshot, and he smelled faintly of expensive scotch. He leaned against the doorframe, staring at me with a look of pure, unadulterated resentment. Claire is back, he said, his voice gravelly. I saw. Congratulations, James. She wants to get back together. Then you should. James stepped into my space, forcing me back into the hallway. I tried. I sat across from her for 3 hours tonight. Do you know what I was thinking about the whole time? I stayed silent. He was thinking about the way you eat toast and leave crumbs on your chin, a comment whispered in the air between us. He was thinking about how Claire's voice is too high and doesn't sound like yours. I was thinking about how much I hate you, James hissed, but he was looking at my lips. I hate that you walked away. I hate that you didn't cry when I told you I'd never marry you. I hate that I'm standing here. He reached out, his hand hovering near my neck, trembling. You're just a substitute, Sarah. That's all you'll ever be. Liar, a massive, golden comment exploded across his chest. He just bought a $4 million diamond at an auction yesterday. The setting is Sarah. He's literally at his breaking point. I looked James in the eye. If I'm just a substitute, then go back to the original. She's waiting for you, isn't she? James let out a frustrated growl and slammed his hand against the wall beside my head. She's not you. She doesn't look like you. The irony was so thick it was almost comedic. He had spent 3 years telling me I was a shadow, only to realize the shadow had more substance than the light. James, I said softly. Go home. No. He slid down the wall, sitting on my shitty linoleum floor, burying his face in his hands. I can't go to the villa. It smells like you. I can't go to the office. The scripts remind me of you. I'm the director, Sarah. I'm supposed to control the ending. Why can't I control this? Because you're a disaster, darling, a comment floated gently over his head. The secret room. A week later, James pulled a stunt that finally forced my hand. He accidentally leaked that he was selling the Riverside Villa and all its contents, including the memorabilia of his 3-year affair. Knowing his pride, I knew this was a trap. But there were things in that house I wanted. Photos of my mother. A journal I'd left behind. I went to the villa. The gates were open. The house was quiet. I made my way to the master suite, but as I passed James's private study, I saw a door I had never noticed before, a keypad-locked room hidden behind a bookshelf. The keypad was glowing. The code is her birthday, the comments began to chant. The code is her birthday. Try it. Try it. I hesitated, then typed in my birthdate. The lock clicked. The door swung open. I expected a shrine to Claire Montgomery. I expected to see her face plastered everywhere. Instead, the room was filled with me. There were hundreds of photos. Not professional shots from my movies, but candids. Me sleeping on the set of my first film. Me eating a burger in the car. Me crying at my mother's funeral from a distance. On the center table sat a velvet box. Inside was a ring so large it was vulgar, a flawless blue diamond. Next to it was a stack of papers. I picked them up. They weren't contracts. They were wedding venue bookings, dress sketches from Vera Wang, and a guest list that included my few friends and none of his business rivals. But the most shocking thing was a small, leather-bound notebook. I opened the first page. October 12th, it read. I met her today. She looks like Claire, which is the excuse I'll tell my grandfather. But Claire never had those eyes. Claire never looked at the world like she was going to conquer it even while she was starving. I have to have her. I'll make her hate me if I have to, as long as she's in my sight. The dates went on for 3 years. Every entry was a confession of a man who was terrified of his own heart. May 4th. She thinks I rejected the movie because of Claire. I rejected it because the lead actor is a known womanizer and I couldn't stand the thought of him touching her for a scene. I'm a coward. I bought her a necklace instead. She thanked me like I was a stranger. December 1st. I told her she's a substitute again. She just nodded. Why doesn't she fight back? If she doesn't fight back, how will I know she cares? I'm drowning and she's just watching the water. I dropped the notebook, tears blurring my vision. All the arrogance, the know your place, the never marry you, it was all a defense mechanism of a man who thought love was a weakness to be hidden behind a wall of money and cruelty. Find what you were looking for? James was standing in the doorway. He looked pale, caught in his own trap. He looked at the ring, then at the notebook in my hand. You're a freak, James, I whispered. Finally, the comments screamed. Tell him. I know, James said, his voice trembling. I was going to burn this room today. I was going to marry Claire and spend the rest of my life pretending I didn't want to die every time I looked at her. He walked toward me, his eyes fixed on mine. You won, Sarah. You paid the debt. You walked away. You're free. So why are you crying? I looked at the floating text around him. He's waiting for her to leave. He's planned to move to Switzerland tomorrow if she says no. His heart rate is 140 BPM. He is literally about to pass out. I realized then that I could keep playing the game. I could let him suffer a bit more. Or, I could rewrite the ending. I'm crying because I wasted 3 years thinking I was a stand-in for a woman you didn't even like, I said. And I'm crying because this ring is ugly. James froze. Ugly? It cost 4 million. It's too big. I want something simple. And I want to get married in a courthouse, not a cathedral. And I want you to fire Claire from your production company. James's eyes slowly lit up with a spark of hope so bright it was painful to see. You want to get married? Only if you admit it, I said, stepping closer, until our chests were touching. No more substitute talk. No more scripts. Say it. James let out a shaky breath. He sank to his knees, clutching my waist, burying his face against my stomach. I love you. I've loved you since the second you walked into that audition and looked at me like I was dirt beneath your shoes. Please. Don't leave again. I'll give you everything. I'll be the stand-in. Just stay. The comments went into a frenzy, a golden rain of text falling all around us. Mission accomplished. He finally said it. Wedding arc commencing. He's sobbing. Absolute cinema. I ran my fingers through his hair. For the first time, I didn't see the floating text as a distraction. I saw it as the truth I had finally earned. Okay, James, I whispered. But the next time you tell me to know my place, I'm taking the blue diamond and the dog. James looked up, laughing through his tears, and kissed me. And for the first time in 3 years, I didn't see a single comment. For once, the audience was silent, because the reality was finally better than the fiction.